So we're going to work now with a little bit of trig. We're going into our trigonometry unit, and we have to dig back and remember that weird stuff we did in grade 10, SOHCAHTOA, and we're going to start building on that because that's what we do in grade 11. So Pythagorean theory, grade 9, the hypotenuse squared is the sum of the other two sides squared. Okay, sum of the square of the other two sides. So we have to be able to identify which one's the hypotenuse and what are the two legs. And then in grade 10, we built on the Pythagorean theory and we said, well, now with right angled triangles, we're going to introduce something called trigonometry, where if you have a given angle, and this is very important, you always have to be able to identify the given angle. If you have a given angle and it's a right angled triangle, you can identify three sides. There's going to be the hypotenuse, which is always across from the 90 degree from our right angle. Then you've got across from the given angle is your opposite side, and then the word adjacent means to be beside. Your adjacent side is the one that touches. That's not the hype or the op. Okay? Then you learned that you can make these fractions knowing what the different sides are. And these different words meant different fractions. So, ka, toa. So for sine, we're looking at a relationship of the opposite divided by the hypotenuse. So opposite divided by hypotenuse. For the cos relationship, we have the adjacent divided by the hypotenuse. And then for tan, it is opposite divided by adjacent. Okay, now in grade 11, we're introducing something called reciprocal. Okay, reciprocal. These are called our primary. Grade 10 was primary. Grade 11, we're going to do some reciprocals. So the reciprocals of cosecant, of sine, cos, and tan, excuse me, are the opposites. And not opposites as far as sine is concerned, like plus or minus, but 1 over, it's like the inverse. You're taking the reciprocal, all right? So sine's reciprocal function is cosecant, okay? Sine is the original, S is the original, its partner is C. This is where students get confused. Cos's reciprocal name is secant. Cos starts with a C, secant starts with an S. And students want to go like sine is secant and cos is cosecant. You can see how that gets interesting. But then tan, the nice thing about tan is its reciprocal of the tangent, oopsies, it's cotangent. So you've got the word tangent in there, so you know that this one has to deal with tan. That's the reciprocal. Go like that, tan, and then we'll go like tan. Okay, so what these are is they are a reciprocal, a flipped fraction of our original. So cosecant is actually 1 over sine of theta. Because we're taking sine of theta is over 1, we're flipping it. Secant is actually 1 over cos of theta. And then cotangent is 1 over tan theta. If we were to replace this with this fraction, we would then have a fraction in the denominator and we would be doing a division. When you divide by a fraction, you invert and multiply. So if we were to invert hype over op and multiply it by 1, we would end up getting cosecant is the inverse or the reciprocal type over op of sine. And then secant is the reciprocal of cos, hype over adjacent. And then cotangent is the opposite of that, adjacent. Let's flip it over opposite. Now the triangle doesn't change. You're still using all the same sides for all 6 of these ratios. So if you ever have a question that asks you for all 6 of the ratios, they want a new color. They want 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Those are our 6 trig ratios. There are 3 primary, and there are 3 reciprocal. So 1, 2, 3 are the primary, 4, 5, 6 are the reciprocal. There's 6 of them total.